Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continual support. Let's look at Newcastle Knights for 2023. While the strength of opposition isn't overly difficult considering when you factor in where these teams finished on the ladder at the end of the 2022 season, it is still a bit of a tricky start to their campaign for the Newcastle Knights. Round one, they travel across the ditch to take on the New Zealand Warriors out there at the new Sky Stadium, or newly named Sky Stadium. Warriors versus Newcastle Knights, and that is taking place Friday, 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. They do not return home, however, in round number two. They take on the West Tigers out at Leichhardt Oval on a Channel 9 Sunday afternoon game. So they have two back-to-back away games to start 2023. They're not the only side to do that, but they are travelling across the ditch and then to Leichhardt Oval. That's a pretty tough gig. Then in round number three, they host the Redcliffe Dolphins out at McDonald Jones Stadium, their first home game for 2023. And that too is also going to be a Friday 6 o'clock game. And because they started the season with back-to-back away games, it's only fair, it's only fitting that they have two back-to-back home games. And their second home game in a row is going to be a Channel 9 Sunday game at home against the Canberra Raiders. And to finish off their first section of 2023 Newcastle Knights, they then have a trip not to Four Pines Park. They do take on Manly, but they're travelling out to Glen Willow Oval out there in Mudgee, and Manly Seagulls do not have a bad record out there at Mudgee. I think off the top of my head, Newcastle have played there on one other occasion. That's just off the top of my head. So just to nutshell their first section, they have 3 away games, 2 home games, and the strength of opposition is not overly difficult. I'd say the toughest game that they have in their first 5 games is against the Canberra Raiders. Besides that, I think they're a genuine smoky in every single game that they're going to play and partake in for the first 5 rounds of 2023. Section 2 of their draw is a rematch of sorts against the New Zealand Warriors. They fight them in round 1, and then it's on again at McDonald Jones Stadium against the Warriors, and that one is a Sunday twilight fixture, and that is the first of 2 back-to-back home games. And the second home game in this one is round number 7, and they host the Penrith Panthers, and that is a Saturday twilight contest. They hit the road again in round number 8, and it's all the way up to North Queensland, where they take on the North Queensland Cowboys on a Saturday night. That is exactly the slot that the Cowboys like playing in. That could be a tough old trip for the Newcastle Knights, and they do not return home, because this is another, and this is something that will feature predominantly in Newcastle's draw this year. There is a lot of back-to-back fixtures where it's not home, away, home, away, home, away. It's home, home, away, away, home, home, away, away. You'll find that a little bit later on. Anyway, they go to Townsville, and then they travel down to CommBank Stadium to take on the Parramatta Eels, and that one is round 9, and that's Friday, 6 p.m. So they have a difficult away, or 3 weeks actually. They take on Penrith, Cowboys, and Parramatta 3 weeks in a row, and then they have the bye, which is part of Magic Round. They were the club, unfortunately for Newcastle fans and Newcastle players alike, they were the club to be selected to not play and partake as a part of Magic Round. Will they be up there anyway? Will the boys be travelling up there anyway to sign shirts and merch and whatnot? I don't think so, but they have their first bye of the season for Magic Round in round number 10. After their bye, Section 3 begins for 2023 for the Knights in round number 11, and they are home against the Gold Coast Titans Sunday, 2 o'clock. The last time the Titans travelled down to Newcastle, the Gold Coast got absolutely spanked. 1 week later, they are travelling to Coffs Harbour, C.X International Sports Stadium. The Newcastle Knights are. They are technically the home side, Saturday 3 p.m. against the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. 1 week later, they're back at home and they are taking on the Manly Seagulls. So they take on the Seagulls twice. And that one is a Channel 9 Sunday afternoon contest as well. And also, because that is round number 13, I believe that Origin stars will be missing. So potentially Tom Trbojevic, Jake Trbojevic, Daly Cherry Evans, and conversely for the Newcastle Knights, you'd imagine Kalen Ponga will represent Queensland. So that one might, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to see how the team lists will be for that contest. And after that contest, they have their second bye. So they have 2 byes in the space of a month, basically. And then to finish off section 3 of their campaign, they travel up to Suncorp Stadium to take on the Brisbane Broncos, and that is a Saturday 5:30 contest. So to round it out for the Knights, they have 2 home games, they have 2 away games, and the strength of opposition is not too shabby at all for them. Yeah, they take on the Cronulla Sharks away, but at Coffs Harbour, so it is neutral territory, and Broncos could present its own set of challenges up at Suncorp, but I think if they go through that 2-2, I think they would take it, but obviously they'd want to go 3-1 or even undefeated. So I think section 3, while there's still Origin representatives being cut from the Knights team list, I still think that's manageable. I still think that's going to be okay for the Knights if they are switched on. Section 4 of the 2023 campaign for the Newcastle Knights is round number 16, and they host the Sydney Roosters on a Saturday 3 p.m. fixture. 1 week later, they then take on the Penrith Panthers out there at the Bluebet Stadium. That is another Saturday game, but this time it is 5:30 p.m. They are also not returning to Newcastle for the second week in a row this time round, because in round 18, they travel out to Sydney Olympic Park to take on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs as a part of Sunday afternoon footy. They have their third and final bye in round 19, and then they come back to host the West Tigers as part of Friday night football in round number 20. That's, for 2 teams that finished in the bottom 4, man, that's a very fortuitous fixture to have. And it's something that I should have mentioned earlier, and it's something I did mention in the West Tigers review or overlook, is that Jackson Hastings is going to have his match, and David Clemmer, who's going to be playing for the West Tigers this year, he's going to be travelling up the M1, and he's going to take on the Newcastle Knights for the first time out there at McDonald Jones Stadium. So not bad blood, not rivalry, but like this is a little bit of intrigue there, isn't there, as far as like storyline goes. So for section 4 of the 2023 campaign, they got the Roosters, Panthers, Bulldogs, and the West Tigers, and there's a bye chucked in there as well. Now, they might get lucky, and Ivan Cleary might rest Panthers players for that contest, and the same with the Sydney Roosters as well, so they might get lucky in that regard. But the opposition, though, that's a few weeks of really tricky, tough opposition. From round 21 through until round 27, if the Newcastle Knights need to make a miracle run to make the top 8, what does their fixture look like for the remainder of their campaign? Well, in round 21, they host the Melbourne Storm on a Saturday twilight game, Saturday 5:30 p.m. Tough way to start the run to the finals for the Knights. Then it marks the start of a really interesting 2 weeks away from home for the Newcastle Knights. Game number 1 of that road trip for the boys is down to Canberra Stadium, GIO Stadium down at Canberra, where they take on the Canberra Raiders Saturday 3 p.m. 1 week later, Newcastle Knights, I don't think, I'd have to do my research before this fixture rolls about, but I don't think Newcastle have ever played a game in Perth, ever, and they do it this year against the Redcliffe Dolphins. The Knights are technically at the away side, Dolphins the home side, and it's taking part out at Optus Stadium Saturday 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. They are then back at home on a Sunday afternoon Channel 9 game, McDonald Jones Stadium, Newcastle Knights versus the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And that is the first of three. That is the first of three straight home games for the Newcastle Knights, starting in round 24. And then their second home game for that trilogy is against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That's a Sunday 2 o'clock game. That will be a blockbuster. The fans, they will pack that out come hell or high water. That's going to be a massive crowd Sunday afternoon. Knights and Rabbits out in the Hunter, and then their final game as part of that trilogy. And is it? Yes, it is. It's their last home game of the season. Seems like they take on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks quite a fair bit over the years, as so far as their last home game of the year goes. This one is a Sunday Channel 9 game, Knights versus Sharks in round number 26. And to round things off, for their run to the finals, St George Illawarra Dragons are the hosts. Newcastle Knights travel out to Netstrata Jubilee Stadium out there at Cogra for Saturday 7:30 p.m. and that's going to be on Channel 9 as well. So not exactly a blockbuster to have Channel 9 Saturday night game like it potentially could have been between the Cowboys and Panthers last year, but hey, luck of the draw. So their run to the finals, there's some tough opposition in there. Rabbits, Bulldogs, Sharks, Melbourne Storm, a trip away to Perth, a trip away down to Canberra. That's not an easy go. And then they finish off their year against the Dragons. But I've seen tougher runs to the finals. But yeah, they've got to play some pretty good footy to get over the top of about 3 or 4 teams there if they are any chance of making the top 8 in 2023. So I probably put the Newcastle Knights probably about mid-range, I'd say, so far as toughness of draws go, probably just a little bit even under. That it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all for the Newcastle Knights. Thank you very much for your continuous support, guys. Nearly there. A handful more of teams to come, and I look forward to seeing your comments and talking to you guys later. Thank you very much. Adios.